Behind every brand, every movement, every leader, every transformation, there's a story. And intertwined in these stories is a message. And this podcast is for you, the next gen leader, coach, entrepreneur, and influencer. My name is Travis Brady, and I'm a branding mentor and sales story strategist. I hope you see me more of a guide than a host as I share the stories behind the brands, so you can take these stories, experiences, principles, and teachings and use them to share your story with the world. What's up, guys? We're back for another episode, and I've had this guy on multiple times because we have such a good conversation. I love the energy that he brings. We got the red suit realtor, and he legitimately wears a red suit wherever he goes. And he even came down to Arizona a few years ago wearing a red suit with cut-off sleeves, cut-off pants, and I was like, I respect he commits to the brand. Great dude, really knowledgeable in real estate. He's on a mission to help 1,000 people flip a house. He also talks a lot about his other mission, which is helping solve the disease that killed his brother. Huge fan of you, man. Thanks for coming on. Fill in the gaps for the audience.
Red suit, red shirt, red sweater today, right?
Yeah,
On the
yeah.
podcast. So appreciate you having me. It's crazy what you've done for how you built all these communities with Brand X, and it's fun to see people grow under your leadership. And I always say that leaders create leaders, and you're creating so many leaders out there, and that's been pretty impressive to watch. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, buddy. So, what have you been up to? Just went to your event about a month and a half ago. How did you feel about your event?
Yeah, world's largest real estate bus tour. I actually let's talk. We're gonna have some fun with this one. Should we have some fun on this
Oh,
podcast?
absolutely, man.
All right. We're Thursday. I need to get my hair cut. I
Likewise.
I actually came up with the name. I saw one of those food trucks that was like the world's greatest corn dogs,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's pretty good marketing. Like you can't just do a bus tour. So we got to do the world's largest real estate bus tour. You see bus tours with 20 people, 30, 40, 50 on them. Like if I can get 400 people, I haven't seen any bigger ones. Have you? I don't know, man. So that's where it started, from the world's greatest corn dogs, and it's converted into the world's largest real estate bus tour. But yeah, we've done 3 years, and we're planning on 4.0 next year.
Nice, man. Yeah, no, it was a really smart brand move, taking something from another industry and just making it your own. Yeah, I thought it was a really good brand play that you've been going with. So fill in the gaps a little bit for people that don't know you. Where did the red suit come from? And more importantly, and this maybe is a question for me, how come you've been so diligent in sticking with the red suit? Like, doesn't that get old some days? Like, are you like, oh man, I have to wear the red suit, or is it more of just like, oh, I'd put on the red suit, it makes it easy to dress in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, this is rough because I'm not even wearing the red suit today, and you're talking about how I'm so religious with it. So let me bring this in here so you guys can visualize and see the red suit. So it kind of started from there. My daughter actually, I'll tell the story. About 8 years ago, I saw online a Facebook ad about 2 a.m. That's when we do our shopping, right? And it was this bright, bold red suit, and I was like, man, that would be fun to wear it to a University of Utah football game. So I bought it. It was $99 red suit. And it showed up, about a week later. And they had their first game versus Weber State. And I was like, I'm going to wear it. I'm going to have fun. I had a man bun at the time. I had aviator glasses. And you know what? I remember sitting just east of the stadium in the parking lot in front of 50, 60, 70,000 people. And I was like, do I really want to wear this like to the game? Like I had to make a decision. I sat there, I had the cowboy boots on, I had the aviators, I had the man bun. I was ready to go. But I
Nice.
sat there and I was like, do I want to do this? People might judge me. They might look at me funny.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Send it. So I did. I got out of the truck and walked down there. And on my way down there, people were like, oh man, dude, I love it. And so throughout the day, and I even had my son there with me and my cousin. So throughout the entire game, it changed everything. It kind of hurt me with sports because sports was like you go and you watch your team, hopefully they win.
Mhm.
Completely shifted the way I see sports now. And that red suit turned that game into an experience because you'd see people, they would smile, they would laugh. Like it was such a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is actually really good marketing too.
Yeah.
And then after the game, like I used my red suit like I was an usher and I got onto the field when they were filming it. So I got behind them and I was like, let's go with the AV. I got the film and the video. I went back and watched it on TV after and oh, there's the red suit guy. And so
What year was this? I worked with I have the signed Ron McBride football in the background. I don't know if you see right there.
love
Um
it.
and I was working with the football team from 2010 to 2012. When did all this go down?
I think this was like 2018.
2018.
17, 18 is somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay,
So when it
cool.
was.
And that's when the red suit. When did you like go? I'm gonna go buy the red suit realtor. When did that become the thing?
So the next phase, then I was because I've been investing. I started in 2006 buying duplexes, been investing on the side, had a full time job, but I'd always invest. And about 7 years, 6, 7 years ago, I was like, you know what? I was making a lot of money at the job where I was at. I mean, I was doing great. It was W-2, but I didn't really have my schedule. And so I was like, I'm going to get my real estate license. So I went out, got the course, passed, got my test in like 2 months. And then I got my license. And then I said, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to send it. And so I'm like, I left the job where I was at. I mean, it was like really good money, like really good money. People are like, how in the world are you doing that, right? And so, long story short, I went all in on myself, and I got my real estate license, and then I just started investing full time in the real estate space. And so I remember when I was like, I met somebody at an event. He said you should write a book. Mark Evans,
Mm,
he's like, write a book. He's kind of calling me out. He's like, I never heard of you. You're a real estate guy. And so he connected me with his publisher. And the next Monday, I was starting to write my book. And before you knew it, my daughter was like, one day I got back from an open house and I was like, I'm just going to wear the red suit to an open house. And it changed the experience too, more marketing, Insta Live, like what's going on here? And I remember I got home from that open house and my daughter, I think she was 6, maybe 7 at the time. She's like, hey, Dad, you know who you are? And I'm like, I'm Dad. She's like, no, you're the red suit realtor. So my daughter actually came up with the name Red Suit Realtor. And I looked at my wife and I said, hey, what's your thought? That actually kind of has a catch to it. But she knows I go all in.
yeah.
And she literally with her thumb was here and it was like one of these, and she's like, it actually is probably because it was my daughter's idea.
Yeah.
She said, I'm all in. So then that's where the red suit came. Started to coin myself the red suit realtor. I used to be flipping Scotty on Instagram. So I
Mhm.
just changed everything. Wrote the book. She helped me with the art. She created kind of the art piece, and then my guy kind of finished it off. And so I talk about that story in my book. But it's one of those things that like what I've learned from this whole experience. And I got judged. People laughed at me. This is a joke. This is a gimmick, and everything is a gimmick if it's short term. But if you do something long term, it turns into a brand. And so that's that. 6 years later, 6 years going all in, and I got 20 different red suits. Here we are with the red suit realtor, man, and it's worked, and I've enjoyed it. And my kids not so much at times because their kids, friends tease them, but I've just
Yeah.
kind of gone all in, and it's kind of been really good for branding and marketing.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love you stick through it. And what you dropped there was some wisdom. Everything's a gimmick until, you really stick through it. And usually the first person we're really fighting is not someone else. It's usually these ants up here, these automatic negative thoughts, that come in. Um, I wanna shift the conversation back to building community, because I feel like you do such a great job at it, and I feel like it's really important. Just the more I grow in business and life, just understanding how important it is to build a community. And I don't know why people don't go all in on that as well. You know what I mean? I don't know why I have to. I don't know why I have to convince people why that's so important. When was the shift for you? When was that shift where like, hey, I need to build a community, I need to build my own table? What was the epiphany you had that really committed you to do that?
Yeah, so I'm part of Sean Whalen's group, and he's like about 4 years ago, he's like, "Hey, who wants to speak on my stage?" And I was like, "Oh, that'd be kind of a cool opportunity in front of like 2,000 people." And then I sat there and I said, "Yeah, but that's your stage." Like in my mind, I'm like, "No, you're Whalen, you're going to speak on my stage." And it shifted just like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like because you don't get as much value when you speak on somebody else's stage than when it's your own stage, right? And so I took that approach, and then I reached out and I said, "Hey man, should I start big? What should I do?" And you know the response was just start. So I started. So I did the first meetup I ever did was in a house that I just flipped. I invited there was about 25 people there that came. Invited some guests. We had a good time. Walked them through the house. Started there, and then I was like, you know what? This is. I mean, I don't have all these flips that I can do this all the time. That's maybe once a month. Why don't I just start doing this weekly? So I started at a burrito shop called Sweeto Burrito, and every week, you know, it started with me, like you said earlier. It starts here. I'm
Mhm.
going to do this, and then I invited somebody, and we talked about it. And then this was two, and then it was four, and then it was eight. And you've been there, you've spoke at it. I mean, some weeks we'd have 8 people, some weeks we'd have 30 people, some weeks we'd have close to 100 people in a burrito shop. And all I did was just invite people and connect them. And it's grown now. Everyone else in the market like kind of copies this, and they've a lot of people have started their own meetups,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, aren't they your competition?" I'm like, "No, I've encouraged them to build your table because I was in my table and I built my business, and people would try to come and suck and extract from my stuff." And I was like, "No, you have a skill set here. You should host your own meetups. You should launch your own." You know, and so even that Dylan guy, you know, he was part of my mastermind group. And now I said, "Build your table." So he copied it. He went out there and did it. He hosted an event in Las Vegas like 4 months ago, and you spoke at it. And
Yeah,
all
I'm
because of that, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy how
yeah,
that
I'm really
works.
proud of him. Yeah, really proud of him for doing that. And he really just is a shining example of like, man, if you want it, doesn't matter where you're beginning at. Just like, he does a good job of really selling the experience by itself. What are some of the hard lessons you've had to learn that you didn't think you would have to learn in building your own table and building community?
Yeah, so I'll give you some quick tips, some nuggets. We're going to go a little educational, but I'll do it very quickly here. Number one, figure out what you love to do and do that. Number one, because if you're doing something you don't love to do, it's not going to last long term. Or
Mhm.
if you're doing it just to make money, you're not going to it's going to rob you that joy in your life with your family. So find what you love and do that. Now, how do you find that? It's like when you go to Baskin Robbins, you just get the little spoons. You got to try a lot of different ice cream. And then before you know it, that 30 types of ice cream will turn into two or three favorite things. And then go all in on one or two of those items and get really, really good at that. Be the expert of that. So, you know, there's a saying, if you appeal to the masses, you'll dine with the classes. When it comes to building your brand, you're much better to be very, very specific so that you're better to be the big fish in the small pond than the small fish in the big pond. Meaning, like me, it's fix and flip, like teaching investors, teaching realtors how to flip homes. Who else does that? Nobody does that. So, of the millions of realtors out there, they're like, "Oh, Red Suit will teach me how to fix and flip a home." Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
been taking that investors approach. I don't need to compete with these luxury agents, but they can't compete with me on the investor side.
Yeah.
So then we built that value. So those are the two things right there. And then the third thing is just consistently start. So instead of business cards, I was going to do those metal business cards.
Yeah.
And I was
Those.
like, dude, they're like $4 a pop. And I'm like, wait a minute. I can actually write a book, have somebody help me market it. This cost me about $3.87 that I can give out.
Yeah.
They're gonna burn my metal card, throw it away, throw it in the trash. For the same cost, I can actually give them a book that they're probably not going to throw away. They're going to put it in their drawer or on their table, or they might read it as a business card. So the third thing I would give you is write a book. Write a book because that's your business card. That adds instant credibility. This was bestseller in real estate investing and in, for realtors when it came out on Amazon. And then so that adds instant credibility. You can walk into any room with your book and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Hey, here's my book. Thank you for this." And then you're off the bat like, "Oh, wow, this guy, they'll never read it, but this guy actually did something, right?
Yeah.
Finished something." So
Having a book is almost like a necessity to be seen as a leader in your brand. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of workbooks over the years. This is my most recent one, sixth edition. Basically, put my entire branding process step by step on here. In the process of, and then I wrote another book, but it's more of an ebook. But I'm officially writing a book right now, or at least I'm having AI write it for me. AI has been crazy lately, man. It's been a game changer for me. So in building your community, you know, and I was having this conversation with someone earlier, like sometimes leadership isn't cracked up always what it's meant to be. You know, and I think from the outside looking in, you know, or at least what I thought when I was younger is like, oh man, I want to be a leader and I want to be seen and I want to be heard. And I think some of those reasons were more positive, but also some of those reasons, probably looking back now that I think about it, were probably worse egotistical as well. And I had to learn the hard way and get humbled the hard way through the process. What are some hard lessons you've learned with putting together your own events and meetups and everything? And how have you been able to move past that?
yeah, I mean, it was hard because Red Suit Realtor is a very polarizing brand. And so it's hard for somebody to copy it. If they do, it's kind of foolish if they do it.
Yeah.
And so, how do I get the community together? Because I would get most of the attention, right? Oh, who's the guy in the red suit, right? I mean, it's kind of like the banana ball guy in the yellow suit,
Yeah.
what he's built, Savannah Bananas. And so I was like, how do we do this and incorporate everyone? And that's where the build your table movement came from. Is like, guys, I've put in the hard work and I've done it. And leaders create leaders and they don't ask for permission to do certain things. A
Mhm.
real leader just does it, right? And so the whole thought process was, hey, we can only fit 50, 70 people in this room. Now it's shifted from how do I help 1,000 people launch their meetups, build their brand, build their table.
Mhm.
And so my community, my mastermind group is basically, I'll teach you all those hard things that I've had to learn so you don't have to go through those same mistakes so you can build your brand, create the leads. That's my community now. It's not build Red Suit's table. I've already built mine. It's
Mhm.
build your table. So
Yeah.
I have mastermind events, I do big events, and it's cool. Like what Dylan was part of my mastermind community a couple years ago, and he just did the steps, and now he's building his own brand, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's cool to see other people. And then after the fact, the hardest thing at first, and it doesn't really affect me much more, but at first, like you help these people, you help them, I'm sure you go through the same thing. And then right as soon as they think they've made it, then they're like, oh, I don't need, even though Travis helped me do all this. Oh, it wasn't Travis, it was somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it's like, wait a minute, like, dude, you're just getting started. Like, you don't real leaders like, okay, I've just tasted the appetizer.
Mhm.
Like there's more that's out there, if that makes sense. And
Yep.
so not taking things personal and understanding that people are just trying to do what's best for their family, even though as a coach, as a mentor, hey, stick with the process, keep going. We're all getting better. A lot of times people will just take nuggets and then they'll run off. And then 6 months later, a year later, what got them to where from here to here, they forget that.
Mhm.
And then they become the top guy in the room, and then all of a sudden everyone else drags them back down, as opposed to, no, you get here and then you go find people bigger and better and you chase them and
Yeah.
bigger and better, and then your community kind of follows along, and then you're supporting them into their community, right? That collaborative effort. And it's been, fascinating. We've seen meetups in Las Vegas. I was just at one. This guy came to one I did in St. George. So I've hosted events in Texas, New Jersey, all Arizona, these meetups, and then other people have taken on it, and now they're building their own communities. Dude, that's so powerful. But never forget where you came from and who helped you along the way. You know what I mean? Because that can get taken out from you pretty quick too if you get a little egotistical when it comes to that.
Yeah, I feel like life does, or you can call it God or whatever you believe, does a really good job of humbling you when you need humbled. You know what I mean? And they call it the, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's I don't know if it's LDS principle, but they call it the humility cycle. Have
Mm.
you ever heard of that? Yeah, you achieve the results, you get prideful, you get humble, then you recommit to I forget the third set, and then you get, so they call it the humility cycle. So the secret in the humility cycle is to always try to stay humble through the process. What's the secret in staying humble in your opinion?
I think that's a hard question, because it's like, hey, you're being, there's a line braggadocious. You see it all the time. It's like people go do things online and it's just for comments and just to say, hey, I'm this good person. But then at times you want to share stuff so you inspire other people. And I think when it's all said and done, it comes back to the core of your why. Your why should make you cry. If it doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough.
Yeah,
Really figuring out who your why is, because if somebody doesn't have money and they're a bad person and they have a lot of money, they're going to be a really bad person.
yeah,
If somebody's a good person without money and they get a lot of money, they're going to be a really, really good person.
mhm,
People don't really change much, at the core. And so I think the biggest thing is at the end of the day is remembering like why we're here. Like money doesn't mean anything, status, all that other stuff, all it's just junk. It's a lack of insecurities. When you lead with what I have this, I have that, all it is just insecurities coming right through the roof. The ballers, they wear clothes that they bought at Walmart and they're just
mhm.
living their life. And behind doors, they're donating millions and millions of dollars to charity. So I think really figuring out who you are as a person and staying true to those core values and never doing anything that would just to make a buck that would what's the word I'm looking for, would those prince would, man, I'm losing my mind here. I for once I'm speechless, Travis. Would
Happens to the best of us.
No, compromise. That's not
Yeah.
even a big word. Would compromise your core values, because you can't, that integrity, talking to your kids, looking them in the eyes, are you an honorable man?
Mhm.
That's hard to, I mean, once you've done it and hurt somebody else, it's hard to look your kids in the eye and say, hey, I'm an honorable man, but you've taken from other people. And I've always said that, to me, that no amount of money in the world, I'm not going to compromise my integrity. I piss people off because they want me to do certain things that would compromise my integrity.
Uh-huh.
And I think sometimes people don't realize, like, all of a sudden they're mad at me. Like, you've known me for what, 3 years now. you,
Yeah, 3 4 years.
you've
Yep.
seen me. I've been the same dude. I've been the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to
Mhm.
get better, but I haven't. Have I veered off my path of what I've been doing with the communities and whatnot? I mean, I haven't, like, I'm the same guy. So it's just funny with people. You can kind of really see truly it's more of a them issue, not me, because I'm like the same guy trying to help people, and then they love it because they want something. And then when I don't compromise, then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, this guy. And I'm like, wait a minute, for 2 years you were, loving it. You were loved all the connections. You loved all the support, but now all of a sudden you've changed. I haven't changed. You know what I mean? And you can't take that personal.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part is like you go into it because you have this deep why, and you have the different archetypes. Every leader leads through a different archetype. You got the lovers, you got the magicians, you got the warriors, you got the kings. um, and as a lover archetype, which I see you as a king lover. But the best leaders, I think, have a good mix of all four archetypes, which you absolutely do. You have the magician, you have the warrior, which is the experience, getting the work as far as everything goes. But I think the shadow of the lover is taking it so personal and getting hurt. How do you not let it get to your heart?
Yeah, here's the thing. When you go from out of spite, when somebody's hurt you and harmed you, like, man, I want to get them, to having that love, almost like with Jesus Christ, where even the worst enemies, he still forgave them and loved them. And so having that, man, they have families too. Having understanding of what they're going through in life makes you almost like feel bad for them. Like you're like, man, I actually feel bad that they're going through that. They would do something like that to hurt somebody or whatever. Having that understanding that they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're sons and children of God, right? And like like we don't get along with our brothers and sisters all the time either, but having that understanding that they're also people, just some are trying better than others, right? But
Mhm.
almost like, man, I kind of feel bad for that person instead of like being their competition or having spite. It's like, gosh, I really feel bad for that person. Like, I hope they figure out what they're doing. That helps kind of soften your heart a little bit. And it almost takes it out of like that growth level, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because,
I feel like a lot of people they don't necessarily do it to attack people, they do it to protect themselves. It's more of a protection mechanism, and sometimes protection comes in the form of, throwing rocks sometimes. You know what I mean? And yeah, we were just talking about this with the assassin with what I just introduced you to. And talking about, what do you do in those times? And I think over time you just learn not to feed the fire. You know what I mean? Just not like just admit your end and just let it go. And usually the thing that we don't understand is usually the person that it's hurt. Like I feel like we hurt our own reputation more than anyone else can hurt our own reputation, because then we get it in our head, we hold back, or then we get spiteful, then we're leading from more of a dark energy versus a light energy. And so that's really what I feel like I've had to learn, is learning how to understand that whatever energy you're in, that's what you're putting into it. When I'm here and I'm frustrated, I'm putting frustration into all my work. Right. When I'm here and I'm excited, I'm putting excitement into all my work. And so just understanding, what energy am I creating from? Because sometimes we don't realize what energy we're creating from. And building a community, it's probably one of the hardest things. And it's one of the hardest things I've had to learn, but it's also been one of the most transformational things, because as a leader, when you're putting yourself out there, it really exposes all your weaknesses as a person. It really shows all your flaws. And so one of the things that I feel like everyone should do if they really want to transform, not read the book or say the mantra, is actually do the thing that that version of you should be doing, which is leading people, if that makes sense.
yeah. And I think that's where you resonate with other leaders. Sometimes people that haven't quite got there yet, they don't understand it because we've been through it. We've gone through the struggles, the weaknesses. And I learned too, even when I wrote my book, I'm like, do I just write the good stuff? Or do I also write about the time that I lost a home to foreclosure that me and my wife got married in? Like, but also a real estate. Like I'm the authority in teaching people how to fix and flip homes, and I lost one to foreclosure back in, that I bought, I think back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost it for a few years later in California. And so I think if your vulnerability is your superpower, but also if you put that out there, not too much to where you're dwelling on it, but it's like, hey, this is what I did. This is the mistake I made, right? I learned from it. I grew from it. Hopefully you don't have to make that same mistake. Then all of a sudden, what does somebody have? Like, oh, you did this, and I heard about that. And I was like, yeah, dude, that was 5 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
talked about it in my book. You should read about it. And so that's sometimes putting yourself out there, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I kind of do that, when I'm having a rough day or going through, if you watch my social media, you see that. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things that it just comes with growth, just saying, hey, I messed up. But that's why I've grown so much, because I'm
Yeah.
willing to admit it. And most people think they have these perfect lives and they've never made a mistake. And those are the people sometimes you got to be careful of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I have a hard time sharing the shitty moments in the moment. I feel like I have to really step back from things to really share the perspective and what I've learned. But I feel like I was talking to someone about this. I was talking to my business partner Dom about this. There's a huge energy going around with anti-brands these days, We just went and watched the new superheroes, and it's like an anti-hero type movie. There's this anti-brand movement going around right now, I've noticed, and the anti-brand is really not sharing the good stuff, but it's sharing all the shittiness, the flaws you have, the things that you've learned. And I hear this from everyone. I hear this from almost everyone. I'm sure you hear this as well from people too. I want to be around people that are real and raw. People are kind of over the flashier, car on social media, and here's all these things. And, I get hit up by those Instagrams, and they just don't hit the same way they used to. So I think there's a huge anti-brand movement going on. And I think people really resonate with that.
Yeah, I agree. Like it comes in cycles and it's a flash in the pan. And a lot of guys jump on the bandwagon. You're like, wait, 5 years ago you were doing this, 3 years ago you were doing that. And they just like chase it. Like it all comes down to your core. And that's why it's so important you invest in yourself, you spend money on yourself, you take care of yourself, you do all those different things. Um, anyway, it's just one of those things that you know you're going to get judged one way or another. The worst type of judgment is no judgment, meaning people don't have an opinion because they don't know who you are. And it's better to be respected than it is to be liked. And trying to be liked by everyone means you'll be respected by nobody.
Yeah,
And
no, it's that's a good saying. I say this all the time. We give up being loved for being liked, and thus we don't really get loved. And I would say most people are very much loved by a lot of people, but they give that up for being liked because they try to fit in too much. And I think we're all guilty of that, because the number one thing that we're afraid of the very most in this world is not being accepted by our peers. Right. That's why public speaking is the number one fear in society, because we're afraid of not being accepted. It's like this human evolutionary thing that's just hardwired into us. Right. But I think in our society, we have to understand, like, this isn't the caveman days when there's only hundreds of people around. There's millions of people around, and you have a lot of people that are going to be on your tribe, even if you're crazy. I dated this girl years ago, and her dad lived on, he didn't have a house. He lived on couches. He thought the government was spying on him, and he put out these really crazy videos. And you watch these videos and you're like, this dude is absolutely losing his mind. But yet he has thousands of views, and he has people saying like, I love you and you're so awesome. And it's just like everyone has a tribe, everyone has a brand. And and I think the hard part is you have to go through this transition where you're stepping into this new version of yourself, and people around you are like, what's this red suit guy? What's this guy doing? Transformation isn't hard for us. It's hard for the people around us. And when it's hard for them, it makes us harder for us to change. And I think that initial transition when you step into leadership is the hardest part, because kind of like what you did with the red suit, right? Like, am I really sticking to that? Like that, I'm sure that was the hardest part. But once you got through it, you're like, I'm gonna own this red suit, and you own
yeah,
it.
it's
You
hard
own
now
it.
without it. Without it, it's hard when I don't wear it. I get
Yeah.
more crap from people, or if it's like a shade of red. And I've realized too on this growth pattern here is that you know, I've realized like an acquired taste when people drink coffee or alcohol at first, they absolutely don't like it.
Uh-huh.
And the more they do it, then they get accustomed to it. And then they actually start to enjoy it, right? And it could be an energy drink, it could be whatever, right? Yeah. But my point is, um, like for me, most people try to lead with, "Hey, I'm perfect. Look at what I've done." And then you meet them, and it's like a letdown, right? It's like when you list a home, if the pictures are too good and then you get there, you're like, oh, this is way worse than what I thought.
Yeah.
And what I've realized, even with the red suit, at first, it's like, man, this guy's out there. He's kind of crazy. Like, they know who I am, they know it. And then when they meet me, it's almost the exact, like, I'm not any different, but when they see, oh, like, this is who he is online and how he is in real life, but you also know a time and a place to tone it down and like sharing authentic, real stuff. Like, I think that's critical. I think that's a mistake a lot of people do. Online, they're one way, and then behind closed doors, they're completely different
Yeah.
and they treat people a different way. Online, they're this charitable guy. you see them treating waitresses a certain way, or you try to talk to them and they're schmuggish and smirkish. And I don't care who they are. If they can't look you in the eye and smile and say, hey, and have that genuine, like they're not my people. There's been people that have big, massive names. They looked at me like who I was. I don't care who it is with me or anyone else. And then they see somebody else that they're like, oh, hey, they're completely different. For me, I just don't resonate with those types of people. And so my suggestion for people in your audience is watch how people are online, watch how they are in real life, and be careful of what people say. Watch what they actually do. And that's why I started highlighting my YouTube where people, oh, you fix and flip home. Yeah, sure you do. And I'm like, dude, I got like a year ago, I started highlighting not only my flips, but flips that I'm helping other people do flips. So anytime somebody's like, "Oh, you're full of it, you don't do this," and I'm like, "Go watch the YouTube video. Go watch the channel. Go watch the episode."
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like you also have to have proof, not so much to say, "Hey, look at what I've done," but highlighting that inspires. Like I literally just got a text from someone while we're talking. Hey, I saw your video on that flip that took you 3 weeks. I thought it was very inspirational. And so now it's not a protect mechanism. It's more of a proof mechanism as you're building it. Like you have to build a business. You'll get exposed if all you're doing is selling. If you don't actually like have like legitimate core foundation of what you do, over time, the tide is going to rise and the tide is going to lower, if that makes sense. And
Mhm.
so you could be you could be good at like basket weaving and go do that and share that with other people and inspire other people to do that, if that makes sense, and go all in on that. And as you do that and you share that, your people will come to you, right? And it's like fishing. And obviously I don't know how much time you have, but I I use this analogy with fishing. My cousin said to me, like when I was in college, he's like, look, and he's not even that good looking of a dude, but he would always pull like these amazing women. I'm like, how do you do it? He's like, I don't chase them. All I do is like a worm. When you fish, you put the hook on the worm and you just let it sit there, and they'll come, right? Or they won't come. But you've never seen anyone catch a fish with just a hook.
Mhm.
You have to attract that. And so
Yeah.
you become that big fat, or you that little tiny worm that doesn't take care of yourself, doesn't look good, doesn't believe in yourself, or you that big fat worm that's like believes in yourself and has that confidence. And then people will come to you, but stop chasing people that don't see the value in yourself,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
think it
having that
demotes your
concept,
confidence.
what's up?
It demotes your confidence when you do that, when you chase people.
Yeah, yeah. So just let them come to you, and then all of a sudden you create like an aura. You know what I mean? So like when you chase people, you like if they don't want to be in your circle, you got to just let them go. Like you just keep doing you. They'll come back, and guess what? If they didn't see the value in you when you were this big, and all of a sudden you get big, you have to pay special attention to that too as well. Who believed in you in the very beginning and versus those that believe in you now because you're having success.
Yeah.
And that success leaves clues.
Yeah. Well, make sure you remember me when you go worldwide, Red Suit.
Prestige worldwide at the Catalina wine mixer,
What is your
right?
goal? What your vision for Red Suit? Like, if where do you want your brand to be? Like, what's your grand vision of you and your brand?
Here's my big vision. It's my kid. My youngest is 10. My oldest is 29. My youngest who's 10, after about 15, 16, 17, there's not really much parenting you can do. Once they hit about their junior, their senior year, I've seen it because I've already had a teenager come through the cycle.
Yeah.
I want to teach my kids that they can have anything they want in life, but they got to work for it. And my biggest vision more than anything is that you're going to be judged no matter what you do, and that's okay. But believe in yourself, love in yourself, and everything's going to work out because I know once my kids leave the household, they're going to see their dad was kind of crazy. he loved life, he enjoyed life, he went all in. And I know if I can do that the next 5 to 7 years and go all in the journey and enjoy life, then they're gonna like be okay, if that makes sense. Dad worked hard, but we had nice things, we had fun, we went on vacations, we went boating. And that's the biggest thing for me, because at the end of the day, just chasing money is an empty, there's an there's an empty bag of, there's fool's gold at the end of the road, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
The journey is picking up the little gold coins along the way, and honor the struggle, right? That's my biggest thing more than anything. And I've stuck firm to that. Like when they're out of high school, I'm going to miss those moments. You and I were talking about coaching football and things like that. I'm going to miss those moments more. I already miss them.
Yeah.
But the journey that we had along the way was a very special occasion. So every moment, stop focusing 10 years down the road, focus on today and your needs, but have that big vision. And I feel like that is the most valuable thing that you can walk away in this life, is saying, hey, we did some cool stuff like flying a helicopter with Chuck Liddell,
Yeah.
and that's really my biggest vision more than anything. That's my end goal, big man, is just
Yeah.
like show my kids that you can have anything you want in life. You got to work really hard. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have good, bad things happen to you, but just keep going and you're going to do okay.
Yeah. They say that's one of the hardest things for a human being to do is actually live in the present moment in time. And there's moments in time I'm just like I'm fully present and I feel so much more peace and things. And my dog has taken a hard turn on his health. Today's his birthday, he turns 12. I don't know how much longer I have. I don't know if it's weeks or months. And last night I was just laying there, just listening to him struggle to breathe. And I was just thinking about all the hard times that I've been through in my life and just how I'd always count on Max, just being there, just like your ultimate follower, ultimate loyalty. And I was just thinking about all those moments and I just, started crying and thinking, how am I gonna hold myself together losing this dog? It's gonna, and I've been kind of mentally and emotionally and even spiritually preparing myself, for this. And then just last night is like, man, I need to flip my mind. I need to see this as not a bad thing, but a beautiful thing. Um, and during the mastermind is when his health took a turn for the worse. He came back and he's bleeding through his right nose and right in the middle of the mastermind, we were up all night and had to go the next day and run this event. And I'm talking to God and I'm just like, I'm not prepared for this. And I don't know, for those who are listening, I don't know what your relationship with God is, and I'm not here to tell you what it should be or what it shouldn't be. I'm just telling you what my relationship is and what the conversations that happen in my head. But his response is, "What do you mean you're not prepared? I've been preparing you your entire life for this moment because you knew the moment you got him that this was going to be the truth. Some days that you'd have to let him go." And I think we are prepared every single day. It's are we preparing ourselves in our business and our life as fathers, as friends, and everything that we do. So it was just a flip of a perspective. But I feel like one of the hardest things is to be in that present. So thanks you for sharing that. And it's still going to be hard, and there's still going to be lots of tears. But we got the um, tattoo King Maximus. His name is Maximus Decimus Meridius to represent the gladiator. And so it's just a reminder. But I love all those things, man. And that's why people follow the red suit. It was never about the red suit. It was about other people. And build your table, love the brand. They say change your I's and me's to your U's and we's, and it will change your marketing. And I love that. Build your table. How do people follow you? How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, everything just Red Suit Realtor, Instagram, YouTube, just at Red Suit Realtor. And yeah, reach out and love to help you out. But I appreciate you more than you know. And thanks for having me on the podcast, and excited to see you at one of the next events, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow him. You absolutely need to go to his next event. You got the date planned yet?
Yeah, it's June 12th. I have a mastermind group. So we got,
June
we do
12th.
stuff like on a quarterly basis. So yeah,
Okay.
June 12th. But
Okay,
just
cool.
reach out to me and I can get some of the details on it.
Okay, sweet deal. Hey guys, someone needs to listen to this podcast. Please click the three buttons, copy the link, send the message out. I'd really appreciate that. Be inspired in what you're doing. You are the brand X factor. You have a story. Get it out to the world. Good talk.
Hey, you have a story to share with the world, which means you need to get on more life stages. We have a jam-packed schedule in 2024 full of events, including our biggest event year to date, Brand X. Go to benextgen.com/speak. Again, benextgen.com/speak. Or you could just click the link in the description. Fill out an application. Our team will reach out to you and show you how our speaker partnership works. Get on a stage, get video, blow up your brand, blow up your business. Let's go.